Of course, we know that for years you've been pushing for this digital tax. It's something that you've made your battle horse to some extent. How confident are you that we get a full deal by the end of the week?
I'm very confident. And I think that we could have, during this G20, a groundbreaking agreement on international taxation. And you know that France has been pushing for that international agreement for more than 4 years. So we are on the verge of having this agreement. It would be good news for all G20 member states. It would be also good news, I think, for the rest of the world.
And you know, the Irish, just to give you one example of the countries that are not fully convinced, they say we can work with taxing in the country where you make your services, but the 15%, that's not something we can accept. When you look at this, is this a full package or can you get to a hybrid solution?
Of course, a full package.
So both?
Both. And we need to have a full package. We need to have, Pillar 1, digital taxation, the taxation on digital giants being decided. And we also need to have the minimum taxation being decided with a level a rate of at least 15%. And let's be very clear, for France, we aim at having more than 15% for the minimum taxation.
So how much would you want to see? You know, what are you targeting?
I don't want to give a specific figure, but I think that we need to be ambitious. This is the unique opportunity that we have to have a fairer, more efficient international taxation system for the 21st century, with the digital giants being taxed in a fair way, and with this minimum taxation, which will put an end to the race to the bottom on the taxation system. So once again, 15% for the minimum taxation on corporate tax is a minimum, and France aims at having more than 15%.
And let's just say best case scenario, we get to Sunday, there is this deal, everyone agrees on it, but it will still depend on the U.S. Congress. You also have your own national tax, so what's going to happen there? Are you going to drop your tax? That's automatic. And what happens in the U.S.? Are they going to get this done?
I've been discussing this point many times with Janet Yellen, and we have, as you know, a very good and friendly relationship with the Biden's administration. I want to take a very clear commitment for the French government. As soon as the international taxation and the digital taxation will be implemented, France will withdraw its own national taxation. And I'm ready to take not only a political, but also a legal commitment. In the French finance bill for 2022, I'm ready to introduce the commitment that as soon as this OECD taxation system is implemented and enters into force, we will withdraw our national taxation. I really want to avoid any kind of concern for the US people, not only for the US administration, but for the US people. We are fair. We stand ready to withdraw this taxation as soon as international taxation has been adopted and implemented.
To make it legally binding. Okay, that's a good point. And, you know, I also have to ask you, next week, you're working also on an EU digital levy. That's created a lot of confusion, meaning what's the rationale of doing this a few days after you get a deal at the OECD? What's that about?
I think that we should recall what is the purpose behind that, behind the digital levy. The idea is to have new own resources for all European countries. You know that we have decided an economic recovery plan of 750 billion euros. And we have, of course, to find fresh money, which means that we need new own resources. There are many tools that have been put on the table by the Commission. There is the digital levy, but there is also the carbon border adjustment mechanism. There is the taxation on financial transactions. So there are many tools on the table, and we will discuss those tools. And we stand ready to discuss with the US administration all the tools that are currently examined by the Commission and by the EU member states. We will have the chance to discuss with Janet Yellen on Monday in Brussels. So let's be open. Let's listen to the concerns of the US administration. We have, once again, a friendly relationship between Europe and the US, and we should build on that.
And, you know, just as a final question, I know you don't like to comment on the central bank, it's independent, but yesterday we had the strategy review with the 2% now inflation goal, also that climate mandate. I wonder, you know, what's your thoughts on that, without getting to...
The ECB decisions is clearly a great and good news for all member states, EU member states, and especially for the 19 members of the Eurozone. First of all, because the ECB has been able to find a consensus in a few weeks. which means that the ECB is ready to take quick decisions. I think that under these times of crisis, this is of the highest importance to have the possibility of taking quick decisions. Second, because the ECB has decided to put some more flexibility in the monetary policy. And once again, since we are under very special times, having this flexibility being decided by the ECB is very good news. And third, for the first time in the history of central banks, there is a climate goal that has been defined by the ECB. I'm very proud of what has been decided by the ECB and especially by the leadership of Christine Lagarde, because Europe, once again, is the first continent to have this climate goal being decided at the level of a European Central Bank, which means that we are taking the lead on the fight against climate change, using the tool of monetary policy, using the tool of a central bank. That's good news.